Welcome. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy, and you are an important part of our EWTN family. And we're so happy that you've welcomed us into your home. It's Monday, and we want to hear from you. Today, we're taking questions from you, our viewers. So if you're watching, you know it's a live show on Monday only. Give us a jingle at 1-800-221-9460. If you're calling and you're outside North America, you can reach us at area code 205-271-2980. You can always send us an email with a question or a comment to jimandjoy@ewtn.com, or reach us on Twitter, twitter.com/Jim and Joy Pinto. And so today we're talking, and we put this out there in social media, and the question is this: can you share what you're learning as a grandparent, or what you've learned from being a grandparent?
What you learned from a grandparent.
Right.
Right. So what you're learning as a grandparent, or what you learned from a grandparent. So we got a lot of responses. We really do want to hear from you. So you got two options. You're a grandparent, what you're learning through this. Or maybe you're a grandparent, you're saying, I don't want to speak about my being a grandparent. I want to tell you about my grandmother, my grandfather, and how they influenced my life, their love for me. So we want you to call us. We want you to email us, be a part of this show. And Joy, as we've been thinking about this theme, and thinking about the many things we could teach and share on. We did have somebody that wrote us and said, Jim, could you speak more about being a grandparent? That we love that. Or about parenting. And I thought, you know, it sounds so, in some ways, benign. It's radical. Grandparenting, being a grandparent, the place you have in the lives of your children's children, of influencing them, passing on the faith to them, what Christ means to you, what the sacraments mean to you, what the changing of events in the course of history means to you based on Our Lady and her apparitions, and what it means, life, marriage, and the family, what it means to you, the joy it was for you to have your children their parents. And thinking about this, you know, I thought to myself, if you want to speak about being a grandparent, it starts before you're a grandparent. It's the way you deal with your children,
right,
and loving your children and speaking to them about chastity, about children being a blessing, about there being the greatest blessings in our lives besides our Lord. And you cast that vision to them. And then as they get older, about giving themselves holistically in the bonds of marriage and in the marital act. And you know, if you want grandkids, it starts with your kids. And it starts about, you know, being a good mom, a good dad. It doesn't mean a perfect mom and a perfect dad, but so that these kids catch a vision. Children are a good thing. And it seems like the more children, if God graces you with children, that's a miracle, every one. It seems that these larger families produce more children.
Yes.
Because they've seen it, and they know the wonder of it.
Well, what I like about being a grandparent is I like to have fun with another generation. Yeah. It is kind of like it sets you back a minute, like when you've gone to the Birmingham Zoo with your own children a bazillion times, and now you're taking your grandchildren and you're doing that. Or you go to some of the other attractions here in the state, and you know you've done that with your children. And then you get to have fun again with another generation. Yeah. For me, I'm just speaking as Nona. I think I'm having more fun with my grandchildren than I did so much with my children. You know, like I had fun. I tried to make it as much fun as possible, because I got a long time ago that this was my day. These were my children. Yeah. They weren't going away. Yeah. I was in charge. And you know what? This was my gig, and I was going to have fun doing it. Yeah. And so it was like, okay, so we're going to have fun. And I think on the raising of them, I was pretty intentional about having fun. But with grandchildren, for me, it's more fun. I love hearing their stories. I love having relationships with them. I love being in their lives and talking to them, and really, and I think for me also is in mentoring them in ways that I've mentored their parents about faith issues, about life, about marriage, about the family. Like when we celebrated our 40th wedding anniversary, I wanted renewal of the wedding vows. I wanted all of our grandchildren there. I wanted a big party to happen, because I wanted them to see that, you know what, marriage is good. And Nona and Babo have gone the distance 40 years because Jesus is in the marriage. And when you talk about your faith, and so you impart that so they get to see it as very natural as it could be.
Oh, Joy,
right?
you're so wonderful. And that's why when we see our grandkids, that they run to you right by me. See, because you're Miss Fun. But we want to hear from you now. What are you learning as a grandparent? What did you learn from a grandparent? Please share your wisdom that we can pass it on to generations yet to come. We'll be right back. Plenty more to come. Don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, remember today we're taking your questions during our show. So if you're watching, you know it's Monday. Give us a jingle, 1-800-221-9460. If you're calling and you're outside North America, you can reach us at 205-271-2980. You can always send us an email with your question or comment, jimandjoy@ewtn.com, or reach us on Twitter, twitter.com/Jim and Joy Pinto. I did want to give a shout out on Wednesday with all of everything that you're hearing about Alabama and the new abortion bill, and that our governor signed it into law in the state of Alabama, and it's going to make its way up to the Supreme Court. We're having a big rally on Wednesday at the state capitol for all you pro-life people. It's run by Students for Life. So we'll be in Montgomery. For anybody who wants to come, I really encourage you to come out, make a stand for life. It's Wednesday, the 22nd of May at the state capitol.
What time?
At 11 o'clock.
Okay.
Yep. And so I'm going to be there with the Students for Life and some other organizations, and we're pretty excited about just making our voices known.
Well, Joy, you want
constantly.
to deal more with the question of the day. Can you share what you're learning as a grandparent, or what you learned from a grandparent? And I hope that we have Marilyn Henry with us. She's with Catholic Grandparents Association, but she's just on to speak about being a grandparent. So Marilyn, are you there?
I am.
Well, please go right ahead and just share your thoughts in this all-important topic of what you're learning as a grandparent.
Thank you so much. I'm very thrilled to be speaking with you. And if I could just lead into what Joy was just talking about too, because this came to mind. When a baby is conceived, a grandchild is born. And so when a child is lost through miscarriage or through abortion, a grandparent also grieves.
Yes.
I just came home recently when I had a friend, I was out the country, and a friend texted me and said, "When will you be home?" I didn't know what she meant at the time, but when I came home, I found out that she had lost a second grandchild through a miscarriage, and she said, "I needed you." So I think that that's one thing that I've definitely learned. We need each other. No matter what age we are, as grandparents, we need other grandparents in our lives, too, who can feel the same things that we do. Because if we lose a grandchild, we grieve for ourselves, we grieve for our child. We grieve doubly if anything happens to our grandchildren. So that's definitely one thing that I've learned.
That's beautifully said. Marilyn, you're with the Catholic Grandparents Association.org. Founded by Kathleen Wiley, so people can go there. And thank you for your insights. We're going to build on what you shared with us today. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you so much. God bless you too.
Thank you. What Marilyn shared is so true.
Right.
I remember when we heard that it was Matt and Becky, that's our first grandchild, right? Isabella. And so they're pregnant with Isabella. That would be her name. And as soon as I heard that, we heard that, the impression was like, my gosh, this is like being a parent, but I'm not the parent, but I feel like I'm the parent, but I'm a grandparent, which means from the moment we knew, and maybe even before, we prayed for our sons and our daughters in the womb. And so then we started praying for our grandchild, that was Isabella. And for each child, you pray. Just like a parent, but you're a grandparent. It's a little bit different, the prayers, but it's a similar thing. You don't feel that like with others when you hear that they're pregnant. So we do pray for pregnant mothers and friends that we know. But when it's your grandchild, you start praying right then. And as she said, if there's a miscarriage that takes place, you feel that.
Right.
I mean, you really do. And then maybe you have a grandchild who's done so well, all their lives, but then they come down with a sickness, with an illness. or they lose their lives, or they're going through troubled times as teenagers, and so on. You know, all you've given to them is love, and here's this rebellion, or they're in jail, or something's going on, or they're involved in violence, you know. And so Marilyn's saying it's so important to have other grandparents that you're associated with. So hopefully you have friends or family and there's grandparents there, but that Catholic Grandparents Association is just so really important to support one another in the joys of being a grandparent, all the wonder of being a grandparent, and then the pain and the sorrow, and then there are grandparents where the kids, for whatever reason, have a falling out with the grandparents, and the grandparents aren't even allowed to communicate with the kids. Like, what is that all about? What's happening? Who do I share with? And so this show is for all of you today.
Well, and for a grandparent, it is like a double sword, because you have the suffering, the agony, the misery that you bear for the grandchild, but then also what you bear for your child, right? So it's a double. You're concerned about your own child, you're concerned about the grandchild, but you know, God, the beautiful way of our good God is He always enlarges our graces. He gives us more graces. And like now, there used to be a time when we would pray, and we would pray for our 4 children. Then they got married. Then you pray for the 4 children and the spouses. Then you get all the 17 grandchildren. And then you pray for all of them. We pray a lot. And I always told my children, I'm not a perfect mom. I've made a lot of mistakes in being a mom. But one thing I'm going to go down with, and I will be guilty of, is every day praying for my children. That will be on, what did this woman do? That's what we did. We prayed. You have to be praying, because it's hard, and I can't figure it all out, but God can, and we have to entrust them over to the Lord.
Joe, let's take this email.
It said, my Nana's rosary hung from the belt of her skirt, just like a religious. She prayed it all day long, even while watching the beloved Red Fox on TV. She prayed for us all, taught by example. And she gave me my first rosary, which glowed in the dark. And I found that rosary in my 20s, and it's been with me, and I've been devoted to praying the rosary since. Best legacy ever.
And I think it was the beloved Red Sox.
Yes.
Baseball team. You said Red Fox.
Oh, Red Fox. Red Sox. There you go.
Oh, gosh.
Sorry.
But, wow. Okay, so do you think her grandmother wore her rosary so she could see it, so she could show what she was? She just wore the rosary, because that was a part of her breakfast, lunch, and supper.
Right.
She had the rosary on it. She would pray the rosary even during a baseball game.
Right.
And now, years later, this woman's calling in, Diane, and saying, that hugely impacted me. And then she got the rosary beads?
Right. Well, her grandmother gave her first pair of rosary beads.
Oh, first pair. I thought they were her rosary beads. Okay.
Which is so sweet, because and we do this very well at Religious Catalog. You can always go out to ytsync.com and find so many beautiful things for your children and for your grandchildren, like rosary beads and necklaces and bracelets and beautiful items and statues and angels. Our grandkids come to our house, and Sophia is just a piece of work. She's Anna's 3rd child, and I have holy reminders all about my home, and she'll come and she'll go, I want to take that one home. I want that one. And she wants angels. So I said to Anna, what's the matter? You don't have any angels for her in the house? No. So I take this angel, and then I'll have to go and replace them. But she wants those holy reminders, because when they come into your home, they feel the peace. They see the objects. It matters. You're bringing them into an environment that says, you know what? Where my grandparents live, God is. God is where they are. And it's peace, and they feel it. They come into your home. We've had workers that even have come into our home that said, I love coming to work at your house. It's so peaceful here. Yeah. You know, we consecrated our home. Jesus is there. We've been prayed in for years and years. And that's what they need. And so as grandparents, we pass on the faith. I think of another way with our children that they get to see us and our grandchildren, is that we have to live our faith out before them. Like being at a pregnancy medical center, they ask, what you do? What do you do? Why do you work there? Why does it matter? Are you Catholic? Are you a Christian? You have to love life. You have to love marriage. You know, all life is sacred from the moment of conception until natural death. And you share it, not in just an easy way that they get to see you living your faith large. You're not shrinking back. You're not hiding your bushel. You know, you are letting your light shine big, as we did for our children and to our grandchildren.
That's a very important point. And so, especially with the pro-life movement, we've done a lot with racial reconciliation. A lot of people have liked what we've done. A lot of people can't stand what we do. And they articulate it. We've been in lawsuits about it, been to jail for sitting in abortion mills. We pass this on, not unduly, but to our grandchildren.
Right.
And say, Baba, and Nona, what did you go to jail for? What? And we explain to them as best we can. We're standing for life. And that, you know, and what's happening with abortion. Because we have to raise up a generation that has grit. And they need to know that you're going to be challenged. You're going to have your socks challenged off if you're Catholic and really trying to live the faith. But it's beautiful. Nothing can take away this love from you, even death itself. That's what we need to be passing on to our grandkids, and the wonder of life. And when you grow older, we're praying for your mate, your spouse, or your vocation, and that you'll have children. Having children is a blessed thing, a beautiful thing. Love being to know. We have 4 children, 17 grandchildren. I hope that you multiply even larger than that. Joe, let's take this email.
It
Facebook
says,
message.
my grandparents taught me, I really want something, Papa will get it for me. I was spoiled, and I knew I was the apple of his eye. I was mostly spoiled with love, though, and that's from Kathleen. So Kathleen had one of those things where whatever she needed, she would just go to Papa, and he would make that happen.
Yeah, and so that's a beautiful thing that grandparents have that special place. It could also irk a little bit the parents.
Right.
And so you can't overdo that, actually. That would be your problem, not my problem.
Right. Well, and we
you
always
can't, because they say, I really don't
Right.
want them to have, or just one thing, not 3 things, or you don't want them to earn something. You're always giving them everything. Not just you. I mean, we do that, and we mean well, but we are grandparents, we're not the parents.
Right.
And you got to respect, and you want to blow upon the sail of what the parents want to do, but there's no question that the divine affirming love of a grandparent, and like you said, it's easy to be a grandparent than a parent in many ways, because you do send them back home and they got most responsibility, the parents. But you're just more in tune with joy and with fun and really taking time to be there. You're not taking care of 3 or 4 or 5 other kids. You just have this grandchild or several of the grandchildren there. And you just pour yourself into them and make each one of them feel like, I'm here all alone with you. And love them simply for who they are, and to give to them not only the gift of you as a grandparent, to study them, to know each one individually, and to be a student of them, and then to give them themselves. That's the greatest gift you can give. I want to give you the gift of yourself. I'm going to tell you what I see in you, what I hope for you, what I believe might happen in your life, the great future God has in store for you. And you give that to them so that they can be at home and confident going into the future.
Yeah, I think, you know, we just experienced a little accident this Saturday. We came from a baptism, and there was a car accident. We had 2 of the grandchildren in the car, and they got to see us. They saw an accident, and they were in this car, and they were afraid and scared, and we were able. Of course, you were the first one on the scene. You went and took care of people and everything. But they saw us in action, and to be at peace and not to panic, and how to bring love.
Let's quickly, Suzanne, you're at home with Jim and Joy. Just real quick, please share with us.
Hi, Jim and Joy. I just wanted to say I love your show, and I'm so inspired. But
Thank
my
you.
greatest memory of my Catholic grandmother, who I only got to see once a year, she always had her rosary beads, and she was such a love, faith-filled woman. And she had a troubled life, but she never said a bad word about anybody. And my parents divorced when I was 2, and it was a horrible, contentious divorce between 2 families.
Yeah.
And I went back home to my other grandparents, and I said, you know, and my other grandmother would say these really disturbing things about the other side of the family, really cruel. And I said, you know, Grammy Musanti never says a bad word about you guys. I don't understand why you say these things. And she just looked at me with her mouth open, and she never said another bad word. And it was just the love and the faith of my Catholic grandmother that just gave me inspiration to only say kindness.
Suzanne, thank you for that
Thank
witness.
you,
I'm so
thank
glad you got to share that. We're going to go to a break. Thank you for sharing with us today. Plenty more to come. Don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, before we wrap up today's show, we're going to go to Rome to check in with Joan Lewis. Now, Joan, the pro-life movement is really growing in Rome.
Well, hi, Jim, and hi, Joy. Greetings from Rome, a very rainy Rome. I have to tell you that to have a sunny day is about as rare as hens having teeth. It's just been amazingly bad weather lately. But that did not deter a big event, Rome, Saturday. There was the 9th annual Italian March for Life in the Eternal City. Thousands of marchers from Italy, from all around Europe, marched in the central streets of Rome, starting at Piazza della Repubblica, ending in the very central and famous Piazza Venezia. Now, this was the first time that EWTN ever covered the Italian March for Life live on television. I'm hoping that many of you did see that transmission. And this, by the way, this annual march is organized by the Families of Tomorrow Association in Italy. Now, there were hundreds, there were priests, men and women religious, lots and lots of laity, of course, entire families, and missionaries from many countries. There were many people from the Order of Malta who were also present and marching. And some clouds and rain kind of started off the day, but then the weather changed to favor all the marchers as they processed through the streets carrying banners, carrying flags, praying the rosary, singing songs. And they also had slogans in various languages, reading such as, "Life is sacred, defend it from the start." "Let's not kill the future." "Enough of silent genocide." "Wake up, Europe, wake up in Christ." And by the way, the marchers were led by two cardinals, not Italian, but the American, of course, Raymond Burke, and Dutch Cardinal Wilhelm Eck. Now, the march, of course, as I said, was there were banners and there were flags, and there were also pro-life organizations present from France, Poland, Spain, Romania, and Canada. They were at the 2019 March for Life. And there were some famous faces. One was Gianna Molla. Her mother is Saint Gianna Beretta Molla. She was a Rome pediatrician who, in her last pregnancy with Gianna, developed a tumor, but she told her husband to save the child, not to save her. That is what happened. Gianna was with us on Saturday, and her mother was canonized by John Paul in 2004. Now, another well-known face, except that it was on tape, was the celebrated pro-life actor Edoardo Verastegui. He had a message for all the marchers in Rome, and it was basically, of course, to keep up their support for the unborn. So, a beautiful pro-life day in Rome. Back to you at home.
Thanks so much, Joan. What a great encouragement that the gospel of life is growing in power in the eternal city. Absolutely, it should be happening there. Anytime you lift up the gospel of life, the good news of life, you'll be amazed how many people begin to rally, young people, different associations. I love the name of that one association, Families of Tomorrow. And that's what we were sharing about today, Families of Tomorrow, about being a grandparent. And that really, if you want to be a grandparent, start today with your own children. Love them. Share how wonderful it is to have them. Share how your hope is that they will know the great joy and benefit of welcoming children as God would allow that to happen in their lives. The gospel of life is about the families today and the families tomorrow. You're a very important part of this EWTN family, and you're always at home with Jim and Joy, and we hope that you enjoyed the show today. And on Wednesday, our guests will be Laurie Stewart and Father Daniel Mendtaza from the National Shrine Grotto of Our Lady of Lourdes in Emmitsburg, Maryland. And remember, again, as I said, you're an important part of this family, and all together we will build a new culture of life, marriage, and the family. Keep it on EWTN. Bye now.